Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
And if the yes vote is successful, we will be divided forever.
What does confrontational mean? It means you fight for what you believe.
We've got Trumpomania running this country, brother.
Unless you're scripted, you're useless.
I was saved by God to make America great again.
We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
G'day everyone, welcome back to Commanding the Narrative. My name is Stephen Tripp. Thank you to everyone who is watching this. If you are watching this live, you can contribute to today's conversation in the chat. And also the link is to StreamYard. If you want to call in, just click that link and follow the prompts. And we will love to talk to you. These in-person conversations are always best with audience participation. So we do encourage you all to let us know what you think today. We want to talk to you, and we want to hear from you. But things are heating up. The election is certainly underway in the mix, and things are ramping up very, very quickly. Let's introduce the panel today. Oh, John the Boy's here. John the Boy says, "Hey guys."
Good man.
Yeah. So we have Mr. Sam Buono.
Hey, Stephen.
You're already in campaign mode. You're out working hard.
Yeah, running around for, shall we say,
Mr. Kamanzuli.
Yep, the independent candidate for McMahon in the middle of the western suburbs of Sydney.
We had Matthew on last week, and he was fantastic. Yeah. So I encourage everyone to go watch that interview with Matthew.
He's quite a man.
Yeah.
Well done you getting such a great podcast with him.
His first live interview, or apart from radio or anything like that, first live podcast. So
that's the way. Yeah.
That was a bit of a coup.
You had to get past his gatekeeper.
I did. Thankfully, I'm on good terms with the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper's especially formidable.
And Mr. Richard Storch, thank you for hosting us again.
Always a pleasure.
It is a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to have such a great audience as well. You are a fantastic audience, and if you want to follow us, head to commandingthenarrative.com. It's the best way to keep up to date with everything that we're doing. You can keep up to date with all the podcasts that we do, any articles that I might write, and there is another article up there this week, and also upcoming events. So there's the articles there. You can see the great AI image that I've created. I'm having a lot of fun with the AI images at the moment. Future podcasts will be there. I need to let you know about the Global Discussion Forum. It's this Sunday night. Senator Malcolm Roberts will be joining us. You'll be able to jump on with us and hear from Senator Roberts. You'll be able to ask him a question if you click the Zoom link. The links are all there. Sir John Redwood, who I've interviewed before, he was in the British Parliament from 1987 to 2024, one of the longest serving MPs in the British Parliament, and also Rob Bates, the director of the Centre for Migration Control. So it's all going to be about mass immigration. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, and you'll be able to interact with Malcolm if you jump on with us. It's going to be live on Sunday night at 8 p.m. New South Wales time. So we all encourage you to join us for that one. It's going to be a really great forum. Also, upcoming symposium. It's the Securing Our Energy Future Symposium. It's coming up very, very quickly on Wednesday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Balgala Bowling Club. Are you gentlemen going to be joining us there?
We will be there.
Yeah. Very, very good. We're going to have Jared Holland from the Page Research Centre. I had Jared on the podcast only a few weeks ago, and I got rave reviews about him. So he's definitely going to be great to see him in person. Zoe Hilton, who hopefully I'll have on the podcast next month from the Centre for Independent Studies, she'll be there. And also Mr. Paul Vallejo, who you will know very, very well. Head to commandingthenarrative.com to get your tickets, only $25 each. So it's all there at commandingthenarrative.com. All you need to do is hit the sign up button in the top right hand corner, and you get a weekly newsletter to keep up to date with all of that. And also, if you want to hit the donate button, you'll be able to donate to us directly, either through a bank account or buy me a coffee. It helps to pay for the stream, helps to pay for the website, and most importantly, gives me a very warm and fuzzy feeling inside. So it is great that people want to donate to us and contribute, just like Timothy did this week. He sent us $40. So thank you very much, Timothy. That definitely gave me a warm and fuzzy feeling, and it does go to furthering this podcast, buying gear, or maybe hopefully hosting some events soon as well, some live podcasts. So the more money we can get in, the better for for everyone. Also, I'll let you know about Australians for Better Government, of course. Now, Australians for Better Government, it's going very, very well. We put out a press release only a few weeks ago, and then what the press release was all about was supporting the proposal put forward by Senator Ralph Babet. Ralph Babet wants to call for a referendum to ask the Australian people whether they want free speech enshrined in the Australian Constitution. Now, he's put that before the Senate, and we, in turn, emailed every senator with a public email address. We've only had 2 replies so far, believe it or not. You know, you think that all we were saying is that the senators should give this decision to the Australian people. It's not up to the politicians. It's up to the Australian people whether free speech is enshrined in the Constitution. Well,
can we ask who's the 2?
So it was, we want to have a guess?
Babet.
Oh, well, Babet, yeah, we got a reply from Babet thanking us. Yes.
2 more. Alex Antic.
Nope.
Malcolm Roberts.
Nope. You'll never guess this.
Canavan.
Nope.
Just tell us.
Senator Nick McKim, Green Senator from Tasmania, and Fatima Payman.
Oh, right.
Interesting.
So, yep. And it was just
I was surprised with McKim.
It was just to say that they've noted our email. So nothing exciting.
They never answered the question on free.
No,
no,
of course not.
No.
But if you can support us as Australians for Better Government, again, sign up to be a member. The more members and the more donations that we get, I know I'm pleading for money, but it is incredibly important, and it gives us a lot more oomph to be able to do things. Please head to australiansforbetter.com. We're going to be having some events coming up, so it's incredibly important to get people behind us, and we need to get more active in politics. So this is another way of doing it. Another way of getting information out there is by heading to the Light Australia. .com. The new edition of The Light is out now, so if you want to become a distributor, please head to the website and sign up to do that and get The Light out there. It's a really great edition this time and a lot of great articles in there. Sam?
I got mine yesterday and I was reading through it, and next thing I was on a lot of advertisers suddenly on there.
Yeah.
2 or 3 pages of full advertising.
Yeah.
So they're getting some traction.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Australians for Better Government is considering advertising in The Light. So it's a good way of getting. It's just another avenue to get things out there.
From 12 months ago, it's a good indication of advertising.
Yeah,
is that people are subscribing to it? They must think that they're getting value for money. I don't know what the rates are and stuff like that, but to put it on there, that it's cutting through.
Realist Mama says, "Is that coffee, Richard? Where's the wine glass?"
Might be too hot for wine this morning.
No, we're not drinking wine in the afternoon.
We need Richard on the wines. Okay, so one last thing. This is incredibly important. I know I'm got a lot to announce, but it is election season, so there is a lot to talk about in terms of events and things coming up. This is going to be a rally in Brisbane. Outside the office of the Greens member for Ryan. So it's called the Goodbye Greens Rally, and it's going to be on the 22nd of March, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't have the date on there, but it's from 10 a.m. I don't know why it doesn't have the date, but I'm pretty sure it's the 22nd of March at 100 Dean Street in Queensland, and it's got a few things. They're going to have guest speakers, free T-shirts, barbecues, and apparently they're going to be doing a lot of little interesting things. So head to the rally, push back against the Greens. It's going to be a big seat. The coalition needs to win that one back. If the Greens do get it, then likely they might be part of a Albanese coalition. So the less Greens elected, the better for the country, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, boys, let's get into it. That was a lot to get through. We've got a hell of a lot to get through today. There's a lot of moving parts just in Australia. We're not even going to be talking about America, really.
And a bit of Germany.
Oh, I haven't even looked at Germany yet. So some polling came out, some interesting polling, and you guys are budding pollsters.
Yeah.
So this is a poll that came out. This is the Roy Morgan poll.
The weekly one. Yeah.
This is not the one that I wanted.
You wanted Resolve, did you?
Yeah, I wanted Resolve. He's updated this page. This might be the right one. Anyway, so the weekly Roy Morgan poll was better than for Labor. So the Resolve strategic poll that came out had the two-party preferred at 45 for Labor and 55 for the coalition, which would mean that we potentially could get a coalition government.
That would be change of government.
I'd view that as a pathfinder poll. It's like just the first of many.
Well,
do you think the trend's heading in that direction?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it goes on to say that the Western Australian results polling conducted for Australian energy producers has raised some eyebrows. So the Liberals are credited with a crushing primary vote lead of 56% to 28% over the Teal independent Kate Chaney in Curtin. Now, you've been calling this for a long time, Richard, about Kate Chaney being vulnerable.
She's finished.
Why?
Because she doesn't really have a constituency. A lot of people just voted against Scott Morrison, and the victim was the very ordinary member of Curtin. So she's only got a margin of about 1.3%, which is nothing.
And she polled, her primary vote was the lowest of all the Teals.
Yeah, exactly. So she's easily the most vulnerable. And also Curtin has quite a large Jewish community. And she didn't get ahead of that at all.
Does that take in Mount Lawley?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that could potentially be one more.
Well, she made a decision yesterday. She said, well, because there was talk about the Northwest Gas Shelf being, the Teals were going to vote against it. She put a statement out yesterday saying, I'm going to vote for it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's against the Teal mantra.
Well, you know what Keating always said, back the horse named self-interest would always come in.
I think
I mean, this is the thing. These people are so transactional and self-interested.
What the theory is that if Albo wins 68 seats, they only need 6 or 7 crossbench votes. Or the Teals will hold their seats and the Greens will get them over the line so she doesn't have to vote for it.
Yeah, but he's already on track to lose 13, so he's not going to have 68, so he's going to have 65 or less.
All I'm just saying is that that's the scenario they've talked about, and it's the sugar hit to those swinging voters maybe in Curtin, thinking that could be the case. That might be that vote they might not need her vote for that if there's a resolution for these other laws. But also, you know what she also did too about 6 months ago, wasn't it? She was she was for the live sheep ban.
Yeah.
Now
changed her tune on that
changed the tune on that.
Yeah. She's a hypocrite.
Yeah. Swings with the tide.
Just keep going, guys. I'm just trying to get the
I mean, she in a lot of ways, she's the most sane of all the Teals, but in another way, she's the least admirable because she's such a hypocrite.
Yeah. So it'd be fascinating if that takes shape. But once again, it's a big end of town, and obviously, those well-off seats in suburbs in Perth, people can see through that sort of stuff too.
Well, they're not there because they're idiots.
Yeah, that's right. So they can see, she's voting for this and voting for that. As long as the Liberal people locally press the case of that, and it'd be good. It'd be a good for the state election. There's 2 seats that covered Curtin in the state election. A seat of Churchlands and Nareen, I think it's called. They both come under Curtin. So Basil Zampler will be.
Well, let's go back to this article. So we talked about Curtin.
Yeah.
Now, compared with a post redistribution 41.4% so that's still talking about Curtin.
Yeah.
In the new seat of Bullwinkle, which is the national Labor two-party margin of 3%, Labor's vote is said to have crashed from 36 to 15%.
So the only outliers, these pollsters, some of these polls can have a very slight leaning to. They're not reliable pollsters.
But you've got to take into account that there was a record anti-Liberal vote in the last election.
Yeah.
They're coming off a huge one-off high.
Yeah.
And the sad thing for the Libs is it doesn't matter how well they do, they're probably only going to recover 2 or 3 seats.
At best.
At best.
Yeah.
The other 3 that they lost, excuse me, they're way beyond reach.
Yeah.
So what bearing do you think that the Western Australian election will have?
I don't think it'll be much bearing in this election.
Yeah, I agree.
But do you think it will be a guide?
No.
State politics is different to federal politics?
I think you talk to a couple of politicians, they all say people can define state issues to federal issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the election is going to be decided in New South Wales and Victoria.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's look at New South Wales. So more polling here. So 2 reports have emerged of unrelated polls conducted by UComs, reporting that a poll conducted for Climate 200 credits Teal independent Allegra Spender with a 57.2 to 42.8 lead over Liberal candidate Ro Knox in Wentworth. So it looks like Allegra is going to get back in.
So the redistribution hasn't helped the Liberal Party in Wentworth because it's gone into the city, into the Cross and a bit more, and also
Darlinghurst,
Watermaloo, Surrey Hills, and even up to past Bondi, past Bronte, isn't it? Down almost.
They got a little bit. They got
Tamarama.
They got a little bit of more of Clovelly, but that's not substantive.
But,
all right. Well, we've someone's hit the.
But for the Liberals will be interesting on the right on the water, more in the states, so the Vaucluse, and see where that polling is there around there. That will come back to the Liberal Party, but outside that little narrow path there, I think the Spender will win probably very comfortably.
Yeah, the big point about Wentworth is that it's still the bubble. You know, people there have not been hit by cost of living. They just haven't.
Yeah,
and they're still got everything's still going very well for them.
Yeah.
So the Liberals just aren't going to get much traction there, I don't think.
All right, someone's hit the StreamYard link and called in. A very friendly face. Katie McCallum, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
I'm actually at work in my cafe up here in Kilkeven, so I've just taken 5 minutes out to jump on the computer at the back in the office.
Oh, well, give us a tour. We want to see this cafe you're always talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to see the cafe.
Oh, yeah, it's out that way. I tell you, I actually had an interesting visitor this morning who walked through the front door. Senator Malcolm Roberts was here.
Oh, wow. How was he?
Yeah, he was really good. He's doing a pub crawl throughout Queensland. So he stopped in here for a coffee.
Has he been out the back country, or is he going out that way?
No, he just finished, Sam. He'd been out west everywhere, and he was headed back into Gympie for a pub lunch and then back home again.
Was he going out to Cloncurry? Is that far out? Cloncurry?
No, that's northwest. He went out to Quilpie, right out sort of
King
towards
Roy.
that area, then out to central Queensland to Mara, and then back down again.
And how's he feeling, Malcolm? Because Malcolm's up for re-election again. There is some talk that he might have to struggle because there's a lot of votes being peeled off by the legalized cannabis party, right, Sam?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah. So how's he feeling, Katie? Is he confident? Is he positive?
He appeared that way. Yep. It was the same old Senator Roberts that I've always dealt with. There didn't appear to be any cracks in the facade at all, and he sounded very positive. So,
very good. And he's excited about Sunday night. Yeah,
he is. And also, well, this was the other thing I was hoping I could tell you guys about and spread it to all your listeners. It looks like he's going to be a speaker at a rally that we've organised in Ryan, which is the hyphenated Princess Elizabeth or Libby Watson Brown's electorate up here in Brisbane.
She's the one who can't stand to be in front of our flag.
Yeah. Yeah, so Malcolm's going to be speaking at this, along with the whole host of people.
Can you just confirm the date? Because the date is not on this post. It is March 22nd. Is that right?
It is. Yeah. So that's a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And it's definitely going ahead. We've only just gotten the police approvals and all the bits and pieces in the last 24 hours. So I'm not expecting anybody to get locked up at it, hopefully. But I was hoping you three could come up, so you never know what could happen.
Well, that would be a road trip, or
it would be.
It would be. Well, I think I've travelled to
already
Canberra.
In battle by then.
Sorry, Richard.
I think we might already be in battle by then, pre-poll.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that if everybody understands that we need to have these rallies so that we can let the public know how they vote is going to affect the outcome for this country over the next few years. Because for us, and Stephen, you know all about this, we've got the National Rational Energy Network, which is transferring over or being rebranded to the Let's Rethink Renewables campaign. And people like Miss Watson-Brown, they are the people who are pushing to have our wildlife habitats decimated to put in these ridiculous wind turbine complexes and solar complexes. And we need to get the message down to our cousins in the city, because I fear that they're not getting the truth, because when they hear from people like her, she just tells fibs. So they don't know the truth of what's going on out in these places. So that rally would be great for people to come to. We've got so many different groups that have chipped in. There's people fighting against the use of toxic chemicals to kill fire ants. There's advocacy groups standing up for freedom, various freedoms for people. There's our group, Let's Rethink Renewables. We're going to try and twist Stephen's arm to come up and speak for them. Monica Smith will be there. My favourite for the day will be Jim Wilmot, who's the candidate for the Libertarians here in Queensland, obviously competition to Malcolm. But we just want to let the people down there in the city know it's right in Toowong, so you don't get much more inner city than Toowong here in Brisbane. So hopefully we can rattle a few cages and make them all wake up to what's going on. I think the main thing for me is that we just need people in the city to understand that their food, their fibre, their minerals, every single thing that they require for their existence and for their life on this earth comes from out here in these rural areas. And if they continue to allow politicians like the Greens and the Teals and the Labor Party to obliterate productive farmland and the remaining wildlife habitats we do have, there won't be anything left for them. I don't know what they plan on eating, actually, to tell you the truth.
Tell us, Katie, obviously this is going to be a rally against the Greens incumbent up there, but do you have any good candidates running against her?
There's an LNP candidate, and I don't know him personally. I haven't looked into the other candidates. For us, the main message is that you need to stick the Greens and the Labor Party last. That's our main message to everybody. Do your research on the other people and, give them your number one and number two and number three.
And will any of those candidates be speaking?
Everybody will be invited to come along. We definitely know that we've got an agreement from Malcolm to come. Jim will be there. I do believe they've invited Jared Rennick to come along as well. But I'm not sure about the actual members for Ryan, the candidates. But they will be invited.
Look, if you are up in Brisbane or around Queensland, look, I mean, the election is hot on the heels of all of us. So I do encourage everyone to get to this rally. It's going to be a big event, hopefully. So again, Saturday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. at 100 Dean Street it's Anzac Park, 100 Dean Street in Queensland and in Brisbane. Toowong. So it's going to be a great day. Hopefully I can get up there and give them all a bit of some Sydney flavour. But let's
that'd be
push
great.
back against the Greens. I mean, the Greens are so effective in their campaigning. It's time for them to be challenged a little bit.
Katie, are you running anywhere?
No.
Are you running in? No, fair.
The only place I'm running is to serve hamburgers to the customers at the front here at the moment, Sam.
What seat is you? Are you in Wide Bay, are you?
Yeah, we're Wide Bay. So Lou O'Brien, he's a good mate of mine. He's an ex-cop just like me.
Yep.
So he was actually a local policeman here in Kilkeven. There is no issues with him. He's dead against the renewables. He's made that very clear. In fact, he's the person who brought David Littleproud out here a couple of times to tell all the people in this whole region that if they are elected at this election, they'll pull every single federal cent of funding from the pumped hydro project at Barumba. And that's what we need to hear, because that's like the linchpin that's going to destroy this whole region. So we need that gone. And Chris Afuli, of course, has said that he's going to go ahead with it, which I can't. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that, but how can you have a state LNP whistling a different tune to the federal guys on something so important? I don't get it.
Now, Katie, I met you through the National Rational Energy Network, and we had a whole host of rallies in 2024 and also forums that were very successful. You and I are both on the committee of that group, and as you alluded to earlier, we renaming that to Let's Rethink Renewables, which is something that you and Jim Wilmot have already done up in Queensland. It's been a very effective campaign. And as people can see from the website here, the whole idea is that people can pay for these billboards that have already been designed and trademarked by Katie and Jim. You'll get those for free as long as you can pay for the advertising, even if you want to just print up a banner and hold it up at your property somewhere, or put it on a billboard in your town. You can see that this lovely koala on there, and the message is that our wildlife habitats are unrenewable. Once they're gone for good. And with these solar projects and big industrial sized wind projects sweeping across our landscapes, you can't get that land back. Once those big bulldozers go in there and they start blowing up ridge tops to put these projects in, you can't get that wildlife back. You can't get those habitats back. You can't get the communities back. They're unrenewable. So tell us a little bit more about Let's Rethink Renewables, Katie, because you were the mastermind behind this with Jim Wilmot, and now we're aligning with the National Rational Energy Network and marching on together. If people want to get involved, how do they do that?
Yeah, so if I could just go back to how we created it. So Jim and I had been getting around Queensland for the last couple of years, just doing town hall talks, and hundreds of people were turning up at these talks just to hear what was happening with this renewable energy rubbish that was being rolled out. Because honestly, up here, we were a bit late to the party. I don't think everybody understood what was coming. And by going out to all these halls and speaking to grassroots people and getting out on the ground, what we decided was that we believed that there was 5 pillars of Australia that were at risk of being destroyed and damaged by this renewable projects. And that's our wildlife habitats, our productive farmlands, our rural landscapes, our strong communities, and our Australian way of life. And what we came up with is the idea that those things, like you said, are unrenewable. So they're saying that this renewable energy is needed. We're saying no, it's going to destroy those 5 pillars of Australia that are unrenewable. And once they're gone for good. And, a mate of ours, Stephen Nowakowski, raises a lot of awareness to what's going on up here in Queensland. And, the Great Dividing Range runs up the entire coastline up here, and they're blowing the entire tops off mountain ranges that are millions of years old. They really are. They're actually blowing the tops off the mountains because they need to drop the turbines down so that the planes can get over the top safely. And these are the things that we need to get down to people in the city. And I understand why they don't know this stuff, because they are just getting by at the moment. I mean, with the cost of living and all of the ridiculous stuff that's being shoved down our throats by our government, it's not like people are going home to hop on the internet to research renewable energy projects every night, is it? So we need the Let's Rethink Renewable campaign to really get out there, and we had made it very clear to everybody that we would always use it and give it out to people for free once we set it up. So we initially raised about $48,000, which was really hard work, to be honest, to get that money together. And then that was used to complete this campaign. And now that we own it, of course, we've given it to NREN, and it's now going to be registered as an association, of which, Stephen, you're going to be the president of. And we are hoping that we can get it out ASAP throughout Australia before this election hits, so that people can see the truth of what's coming towards us if Albo and Blackout Bowen get back in there.
Got a comment here. I always pronounce this as dilemmas, but someone said maybe it's dilemmas. You're getting it wrong the whole time. But the comment is, the irony of the Greens pushing renewable power that in turn kills the wildlife that their wind turbines are supposed to save. And this is the conundrum, isn't it, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. So just outside of Kilkeven where I live, and I urge everybody to jump on the Kilkeven Action Group Facebook page and scroll down and have a look at the drone footage I put up of the BP light source, which is now owned by Beijing, the Beijing Energy Incorporated Proprietary Limited Company. Have a look at the solar complex just outside of Kilkeven. They completely wiped out several hundred acres of beautiful beef production country, and in doing so took out stands of gum trees, which were like a corridor for wildlife. Because I'm a realist, I understand that we need to eat, but I also understand that we need to protect biodiversity and we need to protect our wildlife. So they rolled in with their bulldozers and they knocked over giant gum trees that were hundreds and hundreds of years old, and they put them in a big giant pile and they burnt the lot. And in replacement of that, we now have an ocean of black glass. And the last time I saw the figures published on this solar complex, it's got a capacity generation factor of just on 10%. That's ridiculous. We have knocked over giant generationally old trees and replaced it with solar panels that only produce electricity for 10% of the time. It is madness. It is absolute madness.
And not only that, like
he's got something wrong with them.
A lot of these big companies that are coming in from overseas. They're multinational companies, or they're foreign owned by India or Korea or other places, and they're destroying our natural habitats and our environment. It's up to us as Australians to protect that.
Yes.
We should be pushing back against all this.
Yeah, we should be. Well, I'm not sure if you saw it, but Jim Wilmot organised a rally up in Gingin a few weeks back, and we went up there and we cut down a fence. We actually made it onto the front page of the Australian newspaper, and then there was a big colour article inside, I think on page 4 or 5. That company who bulldozed Michelle Hunt's entire fence without her permission. Now, if you or I did that, we would be dragged before the Queensland, for us up here, it's QCAT, the Civil Administrative Tribunal, in a flash for pushing over someone's fence. This company, which is a joint company across Kuwait and Spain, they still have not been held to account for what they did. And people are just throwing the ball around. Nobody wants to help her. This is ridiculous. We're handing over not only our energy sovereignty, but also our property rights sovereignty to these companies. Where in the world are you allowed to go to another country, commit offences, property rights offences, and get away with it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But here in Australia, you can. Nothing happens to you.
Yeah, we just sell everything off. Now, look, we won't hold you up because we know you're busy working and you're in your work right now. But
I'm a bit disappointed that you guys aren't in your Funky Friday shirts. You do know that it's Friday, hey? Trade Mart. Do you know about Trade Mart? The tradies who started the big company to raise money for suicide with young men in Australia. So jump online and have a look and get yourselves a colourful shirt.
Oh, okay. Well, I did work in Queensland for a while, and I know they knock off about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Fridays. That doesn't happen here in Sydney. We work nonstop. It's a different speed in the different states.
It's okay. We forgive you for being that way.
Okay, well, look, before we let you go, let us know about the feeling up in Queensland. Labor on the nose, are the LNP looking good? What about some of the other parties that are floating around? What's your gut feel with this federal election coming up?
Yeah, look, I mean, up here, obviously the majority of the federal seats are held by Liberal/National members already. We've got to concentrate on Brisbane City, which we've got those 3 Green seats and a couple of Labor seats. Jim Chalmers, I'd love to see him gone. So out here I am rurally, of course, everybody loves the coalition. Everybody wants Peter Dutton to be the new Prime Minister. I don't venture into the city very often. I imagine that in inner city Brisbane, it's very much Greens Labor territory, and that's what we've got to stop. Because even if we can get those 3 Green seats to change, that will help.
The main point of interest is with Blair, whether that's in play or not, and that's based around Ipswich.
Don't be surprised if Chalmers' seats gets pulled back a bit too, because at the state election there was a bit of Labor lost a few votes around that down that. But he's down towards Bow Desert down that way, isn't it?
Yeah, attached to Brisbane.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's down. He's elected around Bow Desert. Logan, Bow Desert.
Blair's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. The Liberal or the LNP candidate came out to our rally that we had at Rosewood the other day. So just to have a look around, he appears to understand that renewable energy is not a good thing. I just hope that can translate into votes for him and that he gets out on the ground and he talks to people.
I'll be surprised if Labor loses Blair, because he's the member that's been there for 20 years and he's a pretty popular bloke down there around Blair. Newman.
I don't think that'll make much difference.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, if he's been there for 20 years and done nothing, it's time for him to go.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
wanted him out, but he decided to stay.
Yeah. His margin in 2019 was only 1.5%. It's blown out since then, but there's also 20 or 30,000 new voters there.
Fair enough.
It's the biggest seat in
Well, we do
Queensland.
have a few 100,000 extra Victorians up here now, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but only the smart ones leave.
Are they all in the city? Because they're not out here where I live.
Well, the smart ones you wouldn't notice.
They blend in. They're camouflaged.
All right. Thank you for
Tail,
calling in,
back to the
Katie.
top counter.
They'd be too ashamed to acknowledge where they came from.
Oh, look, we retrain them really quickly, Richard, when they turn up here in small towns like Kilkhaven. They're very loud and telling us where they came from, and within a week or two, they've realised that no one wants to hear that anymore. They need to leave Victoria in Victoria.
All right, Katie. Thanks for calling in. We'll see you next
See you
time. All the
guys.
best. All the
Bye-bye.
best. See you later. Bye. Okay, gentlemen. So got a couple of comments that I'll get your comments from before we move on. John the Boy asks a question. Is this a make or break election for One Nation?
No.
Yeah. I think they're pretty much in the same position they're always in.
That's right.
I mean, they've destroyed every gain they made or could have made in the last 6 years by losing Latham.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the dumbest thing that they've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, that was rainbow lightning that struck them when he joined them.
Yeah.
And they've totally destroyed it.
Yeah.
And they threw away Craig Kelly, or Craig Kelly got the hell out of there, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, either way.
Dilemmas. I'm going to start saying dilemmas now. Says,
Well, what do you think, Stephen? You think One Nation have peaked, or what do you think?
Definitely.
they don't deserve to go better than they have in the past.
Yeah.
They definitely don't deserve it. But I just look at some of the results overseas, Germany, some of the European countries, even America.
It's a good point.
And I think a lot of people will make the mistake of thinking that One Nation is an alternative to the Liberal Party, which I did. I made that mistake in 2022. So I think there might be a bit out there. I did think that 2022 was the election for that, and it didn't happen. But maybe we're underestimating that in 2025.
Yeah. The polling suggests it's gone up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They're polling at 7, 8. You
know? So
even 9 in some polls.
And what's interesting, it seems that Labor's losing that vote, but it's not going to the coalition. It seems to be going to One Nation.
Yeah, it's a halfway house.
Yeah, and that's where the problem for the Liberal Party is. Where's that preference going to go? Does it land back at Labor as a protest?
You look at it as a problem. I look at it as an opportunity.
True,
they have to take the opportunity. They have to convince people to leave, not just go to a halfway house, but come all the way.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what they're really bad at.
Well, the problem is that Werribee by-election proved that there was the Labor Party vote.
Yeah, but that was the Victorian Liberal Party.
Doesn't matter. But the point I'm saying that
that's not a good example.
Well, the point I'm trying to say, it went everywhere and eventually went back to Labor. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, Dilemma says Rennick versus Roberts is a bit of a dilemma.
Not really.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think Rennick. People are pumping up Rennick's tires. I think he's going to crash and burn. Honestly,
what's he going to poll?
No one knows him.
That's exactly right. The political insiders know him. He's delusional.
Yep.
So
I know what he's trying. What's he trying to achieve? Just go out with a bang, get his redundancy, and leave.
This might tie into what we're talking about, though. This was an article in news.com. Only One Direction, glaring sign, Albo and Dutton are in real trouble. So the article goes on to try and make the claim, and this graph probably shows it best, that the share of the major party vote has been decreasing over time. So from 1974, when it was up in the mid-90s, it's been slowly and surely going down to now where it's under 70%. So that's if you add up the Labor vote and the Liberal vote. And obviously 2022 was a good example of that because it was COVID. And
look, this is really old news.
But Sam, you've been making the point that trend is reversing, right?
That's right. I think if you average out the polls, if Libs are averaging 39 and Labor are averaging 32, 31, so it's 71%. So it's gone up a bit. That's all.
I think you have to wait and see what the election result.
That's right.
Where you draw that sort of conclusion.
But I'm just saying, just averaging the polls. So that's all.
Yeah.
But another factor is, and why maybe it's gone up a bit. There's been no disruption. There's been no coups.
Yeah.
Albo and Dutton are there. It's all been stable. And I think the damage, and I'm talking out of school here, the damage that Turnbull and Rudd have done over the last 20 years, when they left in 19, is still might take 10, 15 years to recover.
This was some more polling. I think this was the resolve as well. So this is talking about political performance. So in this poll, the question was, is the best choice for me in my household? Labor came in at 26%. Coalition was at 37%. Then the next question was, is best able to deal with Donald Trump? Labor got 18%, while the coalition was at 34%. There was a big undecided there.
Yeah,
so I think that just shows Trump's unpredictability.
Very unpredictable. Yeah.
But here's,
and I think if the Libs win, Rudd will leave straight away.
Yeah. Here's the big one.
And it should be replaced by Morrison.
Yeah. The question was, which party is the weakest? 43% said Labor. 22% said the coalition.
Albo stands for nothing.
So this is something that's coming through in all the polling, is that Albanese, and this one's interesting. I was going to say Albanese is coming through as a weak prime minister. This preferred prime minister poll shows Dutton ahead, whereas every election that I can ever remember going back to when I was a kid, the incumbent was always ahead, no matter whether the government was ahead or not.
Break down the states. Look at New South Wales and Victoria.
I can't on this one. Yeah.
Paste it. Yeah.
So what point did you want to make about that?
Probably it's a bit wider in New South Wales and Victoria.
Yep.
And that's when we said 20 minutes ago that the election would be decided in New South Wales and Victoria.
Yep.
How do you think Peter Dutton is feeling at the moment? Do you think he's confident?
I don't think he's taking anything for granted.
No,
I think he wants to just give it everything he's got until the actual day. I think he'll campaign like Tony Abbott did in 2013, which is he'll put in everything he's got.
Well, this is his comments. So when he was asked about the polling.
So there's a poll out there that shows the coalition leading 55 to 45. Would you now describe yourself as the front runner in this election?
Well, we remain the underdog in this election because a first-term opposition hasn't won since 1931. Now, this is the worst government since 1931, and Anthony Albanese is the worst prime minister since 1931 and completely out of his depth. I think we should be very honest about that, and I think the Australian public has understood that, particularly since The Voice. They wasted...
So he's saying it's the worst government since the 1930s. That's a big, bold claim. I mean, I know he's the opposition. He has to say things like that, but how do you guys feel?
Bold at all. I think it's absolutely irrefutable. Yeah. Absolutely.
John the Boy says, from my personal relations, Dutton is seen as a lot stronger than Albo. I think that's pretty clear.
Right, there's no doubt about that part.
Yeah.
And look what's happened with China this week.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
We'll definitely get to that.
Yeah.
So,
well, if Albo was anyone's first choice, he'd be campaigning up in the Hunter, but Chalmers is up there now, so they obviously don't want him.
I want to ask you a question back to One Nation.
Just quickly, I went to a function last week and I spoke to a Labor upper house member in Macquarie Street.
Yeah.
And his words were, like we all said, Minns is more popular than Albo out west.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
he's probably more popular than anyway. Now, tell me about the One
Nation.
The One Nation vote in these polls. It was high, but you think there's a reason for that?
Especially Resolve. Resolve you've got to put in. You can't say I haven't made my mind up.
So they only give you certain options. So they say you're going to vote for Labor, the Liberals, the Greens, One Nation,
and Independent.
Okay.
So I think people like...
So they don't give you the option of other.
That's right. That's right.
So people that are voting for Libertarians or the
Family First,
or whatever, will tick One Nation because...
You'd think they would do that, wouldn't you?
You'd think so.
Yeah. So, for example, in New South Wales, said One Nation's polling 11%, which is I don't think so. That's right.
And look, the polls always say One Nation's riding higher until the election, and
that's right.
doesn't happen.
I think maybe sometimes it's to park the vote there, and then they'll make the decision. They'll say, "Oh,
Well, we've talked about this in the past, where is the polling showing One Nation is high going into the election, but when people are walking into the booth and they've got that pen in their hand, they start to question that, and they go, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should go back to."
Funny, if I got two mates who live in Western Sydney, hard-nosed Labor people, they hate Albo, and they're not convinced of Dutton, so they're parking the vote with One Nation.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
One lives in working class Warrington. Another one lives in working class South Penrith.
Yeah, interesting.
Hard-nosed factory workers. One's a security guy. Union hacks.
Yep.
Labor through and through. They voted Albo last time and he said, "No way, we're not voting for him." That's being polite. He said, I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm voting One Nation. I just can't vote for Dutton. So I'm just going to park it there and just say that's it.
See what happens.
See what happens."
Richard, tell me this. What are the seats that you're looking at? What's going to decide this election?
Well, I'm presuming that the Liberals have already got 12 seats from Labor as a first thing, and then probably they'll get Ryan and Curtin from the independent from the Green Teals, and possibly 2 more Teals in Melbourne. So that brings them up to about 16 seats, providing they don't lose any. So the key seats here is if the Liberals can hold on to Bradfield against the Teals. That's probably one of the biggest and most important fights.
Yep.
If they can score one of the Hunter seats after Patterson, like Hunter, Shortland, and even the Central Coast one like Dobell, I think they've already got Robertson, they've already got Patterson. So then a seat like Macquarie, I would say is critical to them sort of getting close to having a working minority or even a majority government.
We seem to be focusing a lot on New South Wales. That's good.
I haven't got to Victoria yet.
And Victoria, but we live here. But there is a reason for that. Is that do you think that the rest of the country will stay pretty much the same and stable?
Well, there's not much. There's not much in the way of marginal seats anywhere. They're mostly spoken for.
South Australia Liberals might lose Sturt in the inner city.
Yeah, and they might gain Boothby, but it's not going to change anything.
And Libs might win a seat in Northern Territory. I don't know which one. But
they'll win Lingiari.
Well, maybe, or might not win anything.
So the big game is in New South Wales, Victoria.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, if the Liberals can win sort of 3 or 4 of Hawke in Western Melbourne, Dunkley in Eastern Melbourne, Macquarie,
Chisholm.
They've already got Chisholm. That'll fall, and then maybe one of the Hunter seats.
They say Karinga might be in play too. Karinga might. Yeah, that's tough. A lot of new estates down there. Armstrong. There's a couple of places called Armstrong Creek along down the bay.
And how do you guys feel about Whitlam? It's been in Labor's hands forever, but the redistribution and the offshore wind project down there has pulled that back, and also Stephen Jones has stepped down and he's retiring. So they've got this new.
The Labor have got a lousy candidate.
Yeah, who was formerly the Greens person. So
pushed in by Albo.
Yeah, captain's picked by Albo. So there's a lot of Labor is really on the nose in Whitlam.
Let's just say that there's an overly close relationship there.
Okay. Okay. But the coalition are shooting themselves in the foot because they had a good candidate, or they still have a good candidate in Ben Britton for the Liberal Party. But now the Nationals have come out and said that they're running in Whitlam as well.
What's the reason? What's the reason that Katrina Hodgkinson is running in Whitlam? She lives in Whitlam.
It was meant to
the redistribution puts her straight. It just gets her in.
It was meant to be payback for the by-election, the state by-election in Port Macquarie.
That's correct, and they've still arguing over.
So what happened? What happened was it the Nationals got elected there, and then she defected to the Liberals.
That's right.
And then
forced the by-election.
No, hang on. It must have been the other way around.
No, girl called Williams.
She was in the Nats. She defected to the Libs.
Won the 23 election.
And then someone died, and she resigned and forced a by-election. So she screwed them twice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm told it's what's happening in Whitlam now with the Nationals running against the Liberals is payback for what happened there.
Well, they're always paying back.
Well, they may be thinking that try and get the primary vote down. There might be some Nationals people living in the Southern Highlands, and maybe Libs should be campaigning down the coast in Shell Harbour and Dapto. And
but the big question is
the Liberal branches down there would be very weak and small.
Well,
there's only two branches down there.
Yeah.
So the big question is, what is the preference flow like? Normally, the Nationals and the Liberals don't run in the same
pretty
seat.
strong. It's pretty strong. It's 80, 90%. It's pretty strong that way. Yeah, don't worry about that part.
Are you guys concerned with some of the quality of the candidates around this time? Because I know from 2020.
I mean, most of the candidates are useless. They are. They're useless.
Because of polling, because the two majors polling isn't not a high number. I think it's almost. I was actually talking to someone on Wednesday, Matthew Camentoli, about this, and he's saying now you can't. There's hardly any safe seats, so you can't find an intellect like a Fletcher. To be truthful, Fletcher is an intellect. He's not a retail politician.
Yeah, he's an intellectual. Yeah.
You really got to find people now who can sell the message. So therefore, you're sacrificing a brain to a retail politician that can win 50% of the vote. And this is what's happened in America. A lot in America. What's happened in America is that you're finding people to get elected into the Congress or Parliament in Australia, and therefore their brain drain isn't great. They're not thinkers like a Fletcher or a Keating and all that sort of stuff like that. So what they're going to rely on, this is has happened in America for the last 20, 50 years. It's happening in Australia now. The Teals, with Climate 200 in the background, they've got a lot of advisors. So they might employ a John Hewson on economics, or they might employ Timbuktu to advise them on health and other issues. And that's what's going to happen in other now. You got the Liberal Party with their own, for example, the IPA or the Menzies Institute and stuff like that, to advise and to do policy on them. One Nation haven't got anyone. The Libertarians have got the Australian Taxpayers Alliance. You know, so what's going to happen is that their advice, they're going to get people outside the political sphere by using these institutes to give them how to formulate policy, because the person that's in Parliament hasn't got the intellect to get in there and fall out policies.
Robert Nalbandian, hello, Robert. Robert says we should give them a go, as the candidates will be people who probably had enough of the majors. Is that enough to be a good candidate, though?
No, you got to sell yourself. You know.
John the Boy says, "How do we produce good candidates?" I think good people just have to get more involved, and be up to the task and learn as you go along. I think the biggest problem is a lot of people, and I'm one of these people. They just come out of everyday life. They put their hand up. They say, "I'm going to run as a candidate," and then they just they think it's going to be something that it's not. There's a lot of learning that comes along with it. I'm still learning now, 3 years in.
That's right.
So I think that's a big problem. I think you get a lot of everyday people, and One Nation's really bad at this because they love putting people that are naive in as candidates for a variety of reasons.
All the small parties. The Greens do it too. The Greens throw some person at the back to see the Parks, for example. No, he's only at 2 or 3% of the vote, but it's just they use them up.
Yeah.
All the parties use them.
Yeah.
One Nation do it. Libertarian, everyone does it.
Yeah.
Now we'll send you. We'll give you a T-shirt. We'll give you a couple $100, some money to buy you this, and that. Go out there and campaign, and at the end, come election 9 o'clock on election night, they're polling at 3%. They said, "I've busted my guts for the last 3 months doing this.
Yeah.
Never again."
I mean, it's actually pretty immoral, because all the parties get money for the votes that they get, but yet they still want to charge their candidates $2,000 to be candidates.
Yeah, let's not even get into that.
I mean,
all the parties do it.
Yeah, I know, but it's quite immoral, really.
It is. It is immoral.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the big story that's been happening this week, and that is revolving around Mr. Peter Dutton. Now, there's a smear campaign against him, whether it's right or wrong. What it is that Labor says that Dutton has questions to answer over timing of share purchases. So there's a number of transactions. In short, Labor Minister Murray Watt has said Peter Dutton has serious questions to answer about what he calls as highly unusual purchases of shares in major banks the day before the Rudd government announced a bank bailout. Now, that's a little bit deceiving.
It's gutless and cowardly. If he had something to say, he should come out and say it. That, and the inference is there that he had insider knowledge, which is not true.
Well, they're framing that wrong, though, because they're saying he purchased it the day before. That's not correct. He declared them the day before he'd purchased them prior.
Right. Oh, good. Okay, even more profoundly ordinary. Mate. Because the biggest thing about this is,
but the problem is they put that later in the article, so it's in the article, but they put it further down the list.
Yeah, it's quite deceptive. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is that he bought them. He didn't hold them for 12 months, so he paid full marginal tax rate on it, which would be 48% at least. So I don't really have a problem with someone paying half their gain in tax. What I do have a problem with is all the money that's filched out of things like industry super funds and unions and funneled into the ALP's hands. And that I have a problem
And the
with.
other thing is, if you think Peter Dutton's the only one out there doing this, they're all doing it. This is how they get their money.
No.
I mean, look at America. I mean, it's coming out now with Doge. Do you think it's any different here in Australia?
Actually, Peter Dutton is probably one of the few that do it. Most of them have 6 negatively geared properties, so they don't pay any tax on their massive salaries.
Well, speaking of properties, that is part of it as well. Let's listen to this clip.
Now, 35 properties, 35 years, 26 properties, and a whopping $30 million. The extent of the opposition leader's eye-watering real estate portfolio has been revealed this morning. Paul, it was in your newspapers where the PM's new coastal pad was nothing really when it was revealed on Dutton's property empire. I mean, this is going to sway voters, or is it not?
That is so
have you got the answer?
You want to listen to the answer?
Yeah, I just wanted to see what Jackie Lambie would say.
No, Jackie, I don't know what Jackie Lambie
who knows what she says. I mean, she just talks. But anyway, the whole point about it is if I had a builder father, I'd be buying properties and flipping them and getting him to fix them up.
But he was a police officer. How does the police officer own 30
No, he was in politics.
Well, how do you own 30 properties in politics, supposedly earning $200,000
it's really
a
easy.
year?
You sign the title deed, and there it is.
But you need the money to buy it. You're getting $200,000 a year.
Of money.
From where?
But once you got assets, you build on the assets.
Of course, but yeah, I've got assets. I don't have 30 properties.
You also don't have the builder father that can turn a rubbish property into something that's worth a lot of money.
Mate.
So they're buying properties, renovating them, flipping them, getting the profit.
As far as I'm concerned,
that's called being a productive part of society. Unlike all these idiots.
So is this
they don't have any idea about how to be productive.
So they're framing this as him owning 30 properties at once. Is it?
Well, maybe he did. Who cares? The point is that he's generating income and he's paying tax.
While he was a politician?
Yeah. Why not?
This is the problem with this. What the Labor have done, they can turn the Liberal Party. You said, well, this is just a hit job. But also too, if Libs really want to go, so they'll just hark back to Albo buying a mansion on the
wall. This is the stupidity of it because it brings that back up again. $4.3 million for a seaside mansion. I mean, you're putting it in the spotlight again. How stupid!
And did you see what Charlton's interview on the ABC the other night was? When did you know? And his head was spinning. So what should I say next?
Yeah, because he knew.
Because the inside, you got all the information from the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah,
it was a total.
Is this
job.
a desperate attempt by Albo? Maybe he's seen the polling and he's.
I mean, the problem with doing hit jobs is these guys couldn't hit the side of a barn. They're absolutely useless. It's like comedy capers. Really?
Will this hurt Dutton in the poll?
No. This will help him.
You know what they'll say? You know, people in Western Sydney in the seats that they've got to win. He said, "Well, he's just another politician. Who cares?
Yeah.
They're all in the same boat." So, no. And if they keep bagging him, they'll say people might just say, "Hold on, what's Albo done for me? I can't pay the bills. I might vote for him."
Yeah, yeah. Do you really care about Dutton owning 30 properties when the real question is, how are you going to help me survive? How are you going to help me put food on the table?
Yeah.
How are you going to help me pay my rent or
that's where
purchase a property. Or,
and that's where Dutton's got a problem. He's not announced any policies. He's only announced one policy. He's just with the Medicare because he was scared of Medicare campaign.
Yeah.
So he's just matched the number.
Well, that's just even more money that they want to flow. I mean, do people really want to hear that they're going to spend $8.5 billion on Medicare?
They do.
He did, but he did one thing. He did one thing, Stephen. He says, I'm matching that offer, but we can't pay it, so I've got to do some cut costing. So he said, let's go back to the 36,000 public servants.
Yeah, I did hear
that was
so that's smart. I can save money there. I can save $8 billion there. I'm going to spend $8 billion, but I can save $6 billion or $7 billion in getting rid of all the public servants.
Yeah, very good point.
So it stays within policy, and it stays within their base too. If you want smaller government, what he's trying to get, and anyone, if you're living in Western Sydney or in the Hunter Valley or Western Melbourne, and you're hearing the downsizing the public service in Canberra, that's music to their ears.
Yeah.
It's a bit like what's in America, drain the swamp in DC.
Yeah, those people also know how much tax they're paying.
Yeah.
So they don't have an insensitivity to public spending and debt.
Tell us about, we're talking about if that's going to hurt Dutton in the polls, this story that's come out about the Chinese warships, that the Virgin Australia pilot alerted the authorities of the live fire drills by these Chinese ships off the Australian coast, off Sydney, and Dutton. I mean, this is just another example of Dutton showing weakness.
Albo.
What did I say? Dutton. Sorry, Albo. Sorry.
Well, that's actually not the most humiliating thing. We had to ask the Kiwis if they would loan us one of their frigates to shadow the Chinese task force.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Dear.
And you want more?
But last time we asked them for help, we really had trouble.
Next, we'll be asking Fiji and Samoa.
But the thing was, it wasn't until that a Virgin Air captain saw this was and said, "What's going on here?"
Yeah,
and reported it to Canberra.
But wouldn't you be furious if you were the Prime Minister? You'd be like, "Why weren't we not notified?" Where if you watch this clip put out by Advance, it's almost as though Albanese is making excuses for China.
Well, China issued, in accordance with practice, an alert that it would be conducting these activities, including the potential use of live fire. It's outside of Australia's exclusive economic zone. Well, this is activity that has occurred in waters consistent with international law.
He's just making excuses.
Yep.
But did you see what because they pulled in the Admiral to a Senate committee yesterday?
Yeah.
And said what happened. He told a real story. It was totally contradictory what Albo just said.
Yeah, it just goes on the back of
the national security. What happened with that firebomb thing in Jurel?
Yeah,
they didn't. I think for me personally, that Minns didn't want to tell, or the New South Wales government didn't want to tell Albo. That's my personal.
But it goes on the back of the other incidents where the Chinese have used laser beams on our pilots
because
they exploded something underwater and hurt a couple of our divers. It's like. If that isn't enough provocation to give them a really harsh response, I don't know what is. I would get one of our ships to come very, very close to colliding with them. Let's have an accident on purpose.
The problem with Dutton can't say too much. If you tax China, he loses a couple of seats.
Yep.
Bradfield.
Yeah.
Reid. Bennelong.
Interesting.
Chisholm. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we can call him we can call Albo the handsome boy, but Albo can't say Dutton can't say too much.
But does this further play into the idea or the image of Albanese being weak?
Oh no!
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right,
but see, this is also an illustration of how weak Littleproud is. Because you imagine what Barnaby would be saying if he was leading the Nats now. He'd be sounding, probably even crazier than I am.
Well, speaking of crazy, let's hear from Sarah Hanson-Young.
Oh yes, let's hear from her.
This is disgraceful. She was laughing at the end. It was ridiculous.
Look, I just think anyone who thinks that hooking our wagon to Donald Trump, a guy who parrots Russian propaganda and believes Putin's lies, delusional.
Well, who do we hook our wagon to? Who's got the right to stand up to the Chinese?
Well, look, we have to be smarter about this. We've got to be smarter about this, Barnaby.
Tell me how.
You know, if you want to follow Donald Trump and Putin, you know, be my guest. But
So what she's trying to say is that
she's just playing to her base. She's in election mode, and typical Greens, there's hardly no controversial media. They're door knocking. What I said to you, when 6 months out before an election, they hide under the table. No silly statements. They did nothing on Australia Day this year. Yeah. They're campaigning. You don't hear from them. They're door knocking and campaigning, and she's in campaign mode. And all that does is go to her base saying, we want independence from America. Trump's a crazy. And then when Barnaby asked him a legitimate question, she just won't answer. And at the end, I saw at the end that she was basically laughing at him, trying to get an answer out of her. Yeah.
Barnaby just must be pulling he doesn't have much hair, but he must be pulling it out, just having to deal with these people all the time.
I know, but they're probably mates now.
Oh, come off it. They're not mates.
They say the Nationals put on good functions at around.
Yeah, they put on the best.
And they say the Greens come across and
the gatekeeper said the Nationals.
They say the gatekeeper. We know the gatekeeper. She said,
God, you guys stop.
The best parties are the Nationals, and they say the Greens. The Greens are good, but it's a very close shot.
The gatekeeper's not even going to watch this. Okay, all right.
I reckon she will.
We had a question from Karen about the Clive Palmer's what I call the parody of Patriots, because it's just a joke. I mean, I can't help it, but it's just a joke. Let's hear from supposedly the Australian Donald Trump, but he falls far short of the mark in my opinion.
In the policies of Donald Trump, which is shown to be effective in bringing management back on track. Peter Dutton has stated he's no Donald Trump, and we agree with him. Albanese's presided over a declining standard of living for our country. In each and every year he served as Prime Minister.
He's Australia's Winston Peters.
Thing with
a legend in his own mind.
Palmer, I don't know what I don't know. He's got his way.
What can you say? It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Like,
he's
what can you say?
Driven by vengeance. He's never got over Campbell Newman saying, "Who is we?" when he said, "What are we going to do?"
But it's a game. This is a game for him. It's a game. It's a game. And but funny enough, I've seen no advertising yet so far.
Do you like their AI generated logo? Where the text up the top's not even not even right. It's just a joke. It's a joke. That's why I call them the parody of Patriots. It's just a joke. They had this. Let me play this clip, because the way he introduced Sue Ellen Wrightson, who's the leader of this party, is just absolutely ridiculous. And he should have learnt this when he was saying the same thing about Craig Kelly in 2022.
The leader of our party, and given the strong support of our party policies by the Australian community, I believe the next Prime Minister of Australia, Sue Ellen Wrightson.
The next Prime Minister of Australia. Honestly. And she got up and she talked about some good things. She talked about bringing in high-speed rail, which is one of the policies that I am a big proponent of. She stumbled a little bit, was nervous, but some of the things she raised was good. But to be introduced like that, it just discredits her straight away.
And she's running.
You know why we haven't got high-speed rail? It's because of the inappropriately close relationship between Albanese and the former head of Qantas. See,
I've heard those rumours.
High-speed rail would have undermined Qantas's, duopoly.
Well, I've also heard that the route from the Canberra airport, if you had a high-speed rail, everyone would just jump on the train, and Canberra airport would pretty much die.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all those theories around. Yeah.
Well, they're not theories. They're actually good, solid commercial reasons why it hasn't happened.
This might sound. I listened to a pollster a month or two ago about the Trump effect, and he said there is people out in Western Sydney and Western Melbourne who want a Trump, but there's no one in Australia that does that.
Yeah,
and
they're not going to vote for a party just because they got Trump policy.
And they said, this person says Hanson's not the answer, but is Clive the answer?
No.
No, people
know him. That's what I'm saying. And he's But there is a vote out there for F you to the majors and everyone else. But they can't find anyone that they can follow. And if there was someone, they would get traction in Western Sydney and Western Melbourne.
Here's a question from John the Boy. Why can't Clive give his money to someone who knows what they are doing?
There you go. He does. He wants to be the center of attention.
It's his money. He can do what he wants to it.
Well, what's his agenda then? Obviously, surely he must know he can't pop up a month out from an election without any candidates and without any infrastructure and any ground game and think that he's going to do well. There must be another agenda.
Well, he'll get vengeance.
What vengeance is he going to be able to inflict?
Well, he thinks he's going to be able to exact some sort of price from the Liberals and others.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he wants.
That's correct. Now he'll get phone calls from the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
He'll get phone calls from Dutton.
Yeah.
Phone calls from other people saying, "Hi, Clive, can we have lunch together?" and stuff like that.
He'll be an important person again.
Well, they polling.
So this is just buying influence.
That's right.
Basically, yeah. And he's got enough money not to care.
And it depends how much money. What's he going to say in these advertising? That is Albo and Labor have killed my business. Don't vote for Albo like he did in 19.
Pauline says, Sue Ellen is a lovely lady, and I have heard that. I've heard some very good things about Sue Ellen Wrightson, but they need to be out well before now. That's bang on. Exactly.
Yeah.
John the Boy says he doesn't get it. He's delusional. Who's advising him? Go to America, Clive. Well, maybe.
Actually, he could, but that would be good for us. He does pay a lot of tax here.
Well, that's true.
He's a blink because there's
blimp.
10,000 of those sort of people over there.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is where the electorate of Hunter is going to be fascinating because I know there's going to be a pretty high profile person going to run in Hunter
for One Nation.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh.
Hunter's going to be a hot contest.
I don't know yet. No, he hasn't.
No.
Yes. Robert says Sue Ellen is a fantastic person. Well, this is all the feedback they're saying. They're saying she is a fantastic person. I just feel like she was put in a situation. Like, I mean, if I was in her position and Clive Palmer said, "Here's Stephen Tripp, the next Prime Minister of Australia," I would have been like, "What are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you?" So it's not her fault at all.
Well, he's not a psychic, is he?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he's not making a prediction. He's just lying.
Well,
yeah.
John the Boy says if he spent his money like the Teals did in 2022, it would be worth it because the Teals have a ground game. They've got boots on the ground, and so did the UAP, but they didn't do anything with it afterwards. They didn't build any branches. They didn't keep it all together. I mean, they had I always felt that they had tremendous potential and opportunity, and it's been the real travesty, I feel, since 2022 that they let all those people go.
I'd like to respond to that. The difference is that the Teals are a cult. They're mostly over 55s. They're people, as my wife says, with big empty lives looking to build monuments or make a difference to themselves. So Clive didn't try and tap into that. Maybe he never could, but the Teals are quite different. They're a cult. And if you watch them, they behave like a cult.
Actually, keep talking, guys, because I want to try and find something. It goes to that because
yeah. I mean, I've been in battle with them 4 or 5 times now, haven't you, Sam?
Yeah, I've done one battle with Teals and 2 battles.
I mean, they're sickening. They really are sickening.
I try not to talk to them. I try not to talk to them.
Well, I can't help it because they gaslight. You know, they try and get in your head and tell you what.
Funny enough, I helped a local candidate in the local government election, and I kept saying this from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 3. It was about 10 to 3. I kept saying, vote for this person, roads, rates, and rubbish. I said that to everyone, all for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And you know what, the Teal candidates, the Teal person was with me for a lot of days. She sat in one corner and I was in the other corner.
Yeah.
And I made a mistake. And you know what she said? That was your first mistake in 8 hours. And I think, and you can see on her face that she had the craps with me. That I got her. I think I got her hassled. You know. Yeah.
Oh, they are easily off put.
No, I don't think they are. They're pretty disciplined. I disagree with you, Richard. They are very disciplined. It's military.
Okay.
let me bring this up.
I think if you haven't been there, and Stephen would have noticed, we noticed that in Warringah last time, mate.
Well, look at this. This is the Community Independence Project. So this is another teal sort of page.
Yeah.
So this is showing all the candidates that are going to be running in the upcoming election. You got Sophie Scamps and Zali there with all their supporters behind them. A whole bunch of images.
Yeah.
Now they're going through all the different candidates and things. Look at that there. Why is this not coming up the way that I thought it was going to? Give me one second.
Don't worry. We know what they're like.
No,
Don't give them the publicity.
Well, I wanted to show you something. Let me see if I'm doing this on the fly.
This is only illustrating how crucial it is for all of us to get out and oppose these people. They're such a menace.
Well, it's not going to show up because these images are too small. But I encourage everyone just to go onto this site, communityindependence.org, and click the About People. So normally this image is much larger, but for some reason it's not showing up on today. But if you go through all the candidates, Allegra Spender, Sophie Scamps, Kylie Tink, Kaz Hasey, whoever she is, there's a whole host of them. All their supporters in each one of these photos, no matter where it is in the country, are all very, very similar. Old white people with grey hair. I encourage everyone. I wish I could show it on the podcast now, but go and have a look at these images yourself. There's no diversity here. There's no migrants or anyone. It's all old white people. Why is that? Is it just a renter crowd that they take everywhere? Where are they getting these people from? It's all the same.
These are all rich, privileged elitists from the inner city, and
I think
they're just a monoculture.
They're just activists who believe in their causes.
No, I think that's too generous.
I'm just saying.
Most of them used to be in the Labor Party or the Greens or whatever.
I think a lot of them are from Get Up. That's
true.
But what Holmes Accord has done is he's got them all together to do a common goal of climate change or to beat the Liberal Party.
Dilemma says rich white lady guilt from leading a boring life.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yep.
John the Boy says, but the question is, how can the Libertarians be better than One Nation, UAP, or the Patriots?
Time.
Oh, you've had 20 years.
Well, I think that's pretty unfair, Stephen, because for 15 years we had a senator who really wasn't interested in making the party bigger or better, because he was quite comfortable having it small because that suited him. That was Lionel.
Sounds like One Nation.
Well, it's not dissimilar. You're talking about a very similar type of guy. So I think we're coming off a very low base and we're making good progress, but we're not ready for this election. There's no way.
Okay, so all right, let's speaking of the Libertarians, let's move on to I'm all over the place today. Let's move on to this one. Now, this is I guess this was like a press release or something like that. It was more like a novel put out by John Ruddick of the Libertarian Party in New South Wales. And as always, it's a novel because he's got to give a history lesson.
Yeah, he's a very good historian. I can't fault him.
Now, for some reason, again, I can't see this because the writing is too low. But what he's saying is that the minor parties out there, on 80% of the issues, they're very, very similar. Whether it be Libertarians, One Nation, the Patriots, Family First, Rennick's Party, on and on and on.
Yeah.
But he's come up with some options of how they should deal with that, because he's talking about the Senate. He said there's no point these parties running against each other, and he actually said there's no point in merging at this point either, because there's differences. But what he's proposing is preference flows being, which is, I think, is a good option, but also having summits and other things where
that's the Ruddick Make Liberal Party. If you read his book, and the way it's all Americanization of the Democratic vote and stuff like that. That's his basic principle of Democrat, is the American theories.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Does he think it's a good idea?
His problem is he wants everything to be Democratic vote. If you want to change a law, Democratic vote, get a plebiscite.
But won't it just be that the party with the most members will get their candidate up?
Well, that's why he wants plebiscites, because he's got 1,500 members. He can, especially in New South Wales, he can dominate.
Well, apparently One Nation is not going for it. They haven't even replied.
Same as Clive.
They won't. No, they're not ready yet to be part of something more than they are. They're not they're not ready to be part of a bigger movement. But either way, the only way that sort of thing could work, in my view, is if Advance ran a campaign with all the minor parties being part of that. But they would have to surrender some sovereignty and autonomy to that, and I don't see any willingness to do that now. Not now.
What libertarians sacrificing?
Well, they've actually got the most to gain because they're going to end up being the largest minor party
based on membership, on what the Ruddock theory is.
I'd say based on a trend. Okay, we'll see how they go this election, but at this stage,
I think personally this was a hit job by the New South Wales Libertarians.
Do you? I think it's an honest attempt at exploring possibilities.
Fair enough.
Okay. No, I don't think there's any malice in it. I mean, these are the things that this is the thing, Sam. People out there say, "Why don't you all get together?" And that will never happen.
The thing was, my objection to this is that the Libertarians, especially New South Wales, they're in a hurry.
Of course we are.
They don't want to do the hard yards for 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. They want to take shortcuts. I agree with you totally. That may actually work out.
Well, should we reward those sort of people who want to do shortcuts?
Well, shortcuts are the lazy man's way, which is often more efficient than anything
you read
else.
some of the stuff I've read on social media that said Ruddock and Kelly are from the Liberal Party who've learnt these techniques.
Here's a point from John, and this will segue into a question I want to ask you guys. John says, Family First and Christian Democrats tried combining and they ended up collapsing after getting 1% nationally. Now, my big question is, if all these parties were to merge or have a joint ticket or whatever it might be, is that really going to increase their vote? Because I
don't think that's a credible question.
No, because hang on, I haven't finished. Because a lot of people go, all right, well, One Nation's got 6%, the Libertarians have got 2%, this party's got, and they add it all up and they go, oh, well, if we add it all up, we'll get 15%. I don't think you would get 15%.
It doesn't work that way.
You won't, because I think a lot of people are going into the booth and they have no idea to vote for. And I was looking at this last night with some of the preference flows. One of the candidates we're having a look at was for the UAP, and they were looking at the preference flows, and a percentage of their vote went to the Greens in second.
Yep.
And for me, that's or sustainable. Or another example was a Sustainable Australia Party, which is
Justice.
Yeah, and basically you're voting one for a hard right party, and then two for a far left party. It makes no sense. I think they're the people that are going into the booths. They have no idea, and they're just looking at the names and they go, "Oh, that sounds good. I'll put one here." And oh, that sounds okay. I'll put two. They don't even know what these parties stand for. So to take all the minor parties, take their votes, and add them all up, and think you're going to get that vote, no, it's not. It doesn't work like that.
Well, Kelly wrote on his Twitter feed saying, "Oh, we'll get 12%," thinking, "Oh, well, it's going to be 12. It could be 9. It could be 13, but it's in the ballpark."
So you definitely need 14%, but you can't if you want to get that last position.
If you get 9%, 10%, you'll get the last spot. It depends what the primary vote is for Liberal and Labor.
Yeah,
I think it's even less than that, isn't it?
If you want, well, it depends. It just depends what the primary vote of the two majors are. That last spot.
So they're all fighting over the breadcrumbs, but will it be enough to form a biscuit?
I think there's I think a lot of the minor parties don't have much vision about where they want to get to and how they want to get there.
Well, at least the Libertarians seem to have that vision.
Yeah, they need to have a lot more.
I will say this:
that's the problem.
I'm in a position now where I don't know. I don't like any of them. You probably know from this podcast, I'm not a fan of any of the parties. Probably, if I had to pick, I mean, I've always been a Liberal. But I at least tip my hat to the Libertarians at the moment, and I disagree with them on ideology, which we've played out on this podcast plenty of times.
So
but I think overall, going into this election, I might not have an option to vote for anyone other than Libertarian. Which shock horror, those words are actually coming out of my mouth. But who else is there?
Yeah. My issue with them, and I've said to them that they won't talk to me, but for me, what they've done the last couple of days has shown their hard-nosed politics behind it.
They're at least
is that
moving-
a bad thing?
No, I'm just saying.
Is that a bad thing, though?
Yeah, but I'm just saying. They've shown the Ruddock and Kelly have shown, and the person behind it.
But you always say they're lazy, not willing to do the work. They're rushing. But you got to give them. You got to give them credit. They've built branches. They've recruited very well. They've got.
Let's see how they go grand final day.
Yep. That's the ground game is going to tell the story.
And they still haven't got a ground game at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I was them, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but their true guidance won't be till 28 and see how they go after a couple of years. And maybe the 27 election.
But you're forgetting there's all those by-elections of retiring Labor politicians in the next 3 years.
Yeah, but the Libertarians haven't had too much success in the by-elections.
Oh, we'll do better in the federal. We did okay in Cook, considering.
Yeah.
We did.
But there was like 3 candidates, wasn't there?
Yeah, but we were going against a proven winner. You know,
Who was the proven winner?
A certain winner.
Who was the proven winner?
Simon Kennedy.
Who had lost in previous elections, lost pre-elections, lost elections.
yeah,
How was he a proven winner?
Well, he was a proven winner because he actually managed not to embarrass himself too much, given the only
They get 60% of the primary vote in Cook. I could have gone down. You could have stood. People would have voted for you too.
Yeah.
He did much better. He got a record 2 PP. Mostly due to us.
But coming back to what the New South Wales Libertarians have done, what they're trying to achieve today, what they've done the last couple of days, throw it out there and see what comes back.
Maybe
they would have known. Palmer would have said no. Pauline would have said no.
Sure.
And see what. But throw it out there.
Or is it just exposing the fact that it's One Nation and Clive saying no all the time?
Yeah.
Well,
to put pressure on them.
Well, I would think
certainly does.
I would think that Clive says I spent $100 million, and Pauline would say I spent 35 years of my life trying to build something here. I've knocked back $10 million from supposedly knocked back $10 million from Clive. We're going to pamper to a bloke who's from the Liberal Party.
Sure.
And if you want to be critical, Craig, I don't know if this be liable, but you can almost say,
of course it's live. What else is it going to be?
Liable.
Oh, liable.
I should say this, but Craig Kelly was a part of One Nation 12 months ago.
Oh, please don't say it. Let's not go there. We've already got certain senators watching this podcast to make sure we don't make any.
That's what I'm saying. That's the New South Wales Libertarians. That's the way they want to do it. I've said to them privately, but they're in a hurry, you know. And the end goal of John Ruddock is to go to Canberra.
Yeah,
and he hates deep down. He won't like what I'm going to say, but he's just a passing traffic cop in Macquarie Street. You know,
I think he's more than that, Sam. I don't think that's quite fair. I think he's giving it everything he's got, but obviously he'd like a bigger stage. And
issues.
Is that a bad thing?
But I said he's not. As I've said to him, I said you're not just about the pothole in Kemps Creek.
All right.
Well, who is?
I'm just saying that's what state politics is.
Who gives a stuff about a pothole in Kemps Creek?
That's just
Chris Bowen's electorate. The more potholes there are, the worse he'll look. That's fine.
All right, let's finish on this one. This is a tweet that came out from Craig Kelly. God bless America. It's over for e-safety Karen and her merry band of censors. So what's happened is this bill has gone through in the United States. It's been passed. The No Censors on Our Shores Act. So basically what it's saying is that if there are anyone out there in the world who censors their citizens, then that person can't set foot in America. So this e-safety Karen is American. She might want to go home one day. She better start thinking about what type of censorship she introduces here in Australia. What do you guys feel about this?
Oh, I loathe people like that. I try not to think about them.
Is this in terms of the election?
No, it doesn't have to be in terms of the election. It just has to be in terms of censorship. We're getting all these bills that Albanese has been pushing through.
Does this attract votes?
We're not talking about votes.
Well, I'm
it
just
doesn't have to be about votes all the time.
Well,
this is a bigger issue. This transcends the election.
Well, I mean, you're asking a libertarian about how he feels about authoritarian abuses, you know. And this, I blame Turnbull for appointing this idiot as well. So,
so it's a non-issue for you guys.
Well, I mean, I can't really talk about what I'd like to see happen.
Well, John Ruddock spent 7 hours doing a filibuster with the Greens, and Latham in the anti-Semitic bill the other day.
Did you see that Latham praised Ruddock and said that he spoke very well?
Very well. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Someone must have wrote his speech, did they?
Right. Maybe you can take an image of Latham saying that and frame it and put
take the hit. There was no doubt there was a bit of a history lesson. That'd be his part. But the rest of it's be copy and paste from somewhere else.
No.
All right, boys.
This is a civil war. I've declared war.
Yeah, what country are you, or what part of the world? You're Tasmania up against the rest of the country.
Okay.
No, I don't know about it. Yeah. But
anything you guys want to close on? Maybe some predictions. How do you think this is going at the moment? Do you think Dutton's looking good, or are we still heading to a hung parliament?
We will start.
I think we're still looking at a minority Liberal government on balance.
Minority Liberal government?
Yeah.
And who do they form a minority with? Katter?
Yeah, about 3 or 4 independents. The only question is whether Dutton will go for it. I think that's the most likely outcome. The less likely outcome is a minority Labor government.
Who are the independents? So Katter? Who are the others?
Sharkey.
Allegra.
Allegra
would be the top.
What with Dutton?
Yep.
Sharkey.
Haynes, I think.
Don't know about that.
Oh, she unless she wants to commit political suicide, she'll go with it.
No.
Hey, they did in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is that she may not have another option.
It depends how
either be part of the government or be in opposition.
It depends how big a minority government it is. If Albo's on 7, whether you like it, if Albo's on 70 seats, there's 15 of them. He can play. He only needs 6
He's
votes.
not going to get 70 seats. He'll be pushing it to get 65.
Okay, fair enough. But that's if it does happen, you can play the politics. There might be if Kate Cheney gets in, she doesn't need to vote on the gas bill. She'll abstain, so make it that.
Yeah.
But she'll only the government only needs 6 votes. But if Albo's on 64 and he needs every crossbencher, everyone has to vote. Every division has to vote to get the numbers up because it's one short or something like that.
Yeah, but within 12 months he'll call a double DD.
No, he won't. I reckon he'll retire and someone will take over.
I don't think so. I think he'll do 12 months and then 24, and then he'll hand over to someone.
My opinion is I still think Labor minority. I just don't think that Dutton can win enough seats based on this. People in Western Sydney and Western Melbourne, they don't like the Labor Party at the moment, but do they trust Dutton? And at the moment, I think it's no.
I don't think they do, and I don't think he's given them a reason to trust him.
But all I'm saying, this is where it's critical now. This election campaign might mean something. How you campaign.
I agree with that.
Albo's a bad campaigner. He can't have COVID and hide for a week. Okay.
Yeah. So can you guys tell me this? When will the election be?
He'll go to Yarralumla on Sunday week.
Yeah, I agree with
so
that.
April 12th.
April 12th. Yeah.
John the Boy, we'll finish with this comment, says, Teal said on mainstream media they might work with the Liberals, whatever that looks like, who knows? And John the Boy also says April 12th. Everyone seems like, and look, if it is April 12th, a lot of people are going to get caught off guard. A lot of people are not ready. And
John the Boy, I think that there'll be only half the number of Teals around anyway.
Yeah.
So, I don't agree with Kosamaris that there'll only be one or two going each way. I think that they'll lose at least 3, if not more. And I don't think...
Kate Cheney, Monique Ryan.
No.
Yep, no. I think they'll...
And who's your third?
Kooyong safe.
Zoe Daniel.
Zoe Daniels.
Kooyong safe.
I don't agree.
And do they pick one up in Bradfield? I think they'll win Bradfield.
My personal opinion is it's very tight.
Yeah, I think that
And I've heard people from both sides. I've talked to a couple of fake teals, and they say the same thing. We're not quite sure ourselves. And another thing, viewers, this is where in Bradfield, there's an independent candidate, an extra independent candidate, a Chinese person who's based in Chatswood.
Yep, that's why I won't take a side.
That's where, and my mate John Ruddick went to his launch.
Your mate?
Yeah, in hindsight, yeah. He launched that thing. That's fair enough. But I'm just saying, the reason the Chinese person is standing in as an independent in Bradfield, based in Chatswood, is because at the moment, obviously, they're polling, internal polling, saying the Liberal Party primary vote is still strong. The key is to get the primary vote down from X amount to a low amount.
So who's the Chinese independent preferencing?
I don't know yet, but
that's going to be the
problem is that, and the Chinese will vote for Chinese.
Yep.
And then whoever goes at the end, it could go anywhere. But the point is, the job is to get the primary vote down.
Yep.
Okay.
And does this very competent and popular Chinese candidate have a name?
No, I can't remember his name.
Andy Lin, is it?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's him. Yeah, yeah. But the point I'm trying to say, so the primary vote's still holding up okay for the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
In Bradfield.
John the boy.
My opinion is it's holding very well up in the north part of the electorate, and Teal's polling probably well in the southern part of the electorate.
We'll see.
John the boy says,
that's come from,
wow, mates, let's rewind the tape. Maybe I need to put that in the intro.
What's that?
That you're mates with John Ruddick.
So am I. Surprise, surprise.
So it's a tragic love story, isn't it?
No. It's for him. It's for him. He loves slinging mud at people.
Let's not go there again. All right. So it is election season. If it is going to be an April 12th election, things are going. Shut up, Sam.
No. This could be another replay. You know, I'm saying to you, we've had our things. He's joined the right party. He's joined the Libertarians because he's a freelancer. He's a freelancer who's ill-disciplined, and he can do what he likes because he's got zero accountability. That's why he never got a chance in the Liberal Party, because he's not a team player. It's for himself. Thank you.
I don't agree. How about that?
I think he's a serious.
No, he's not for himself. Otherwise he wouldn't have gotten anywhere in our party. I can tell you that right now. He's very illustrative of our party, I think. Yeah. Very representative. So.
He's a good head kicker.
No, rubbish. He's
such
a mild and placid
I'll
person.
do one thing. He likes to head kick, but he'll get something go wrong, and I'll head kick him too.
No.
All right, let's finish up. All right, so as I was saying, with the election coming up very, very soon, you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, head to commandingthenarrative.com. There will be all the podcasts. Hopefully, we can have a lot more candidates if I can find any good ones. And also, there'll be plenty of articles and newsletters and also events. Please check out the events page because, as I said, the Global Discussion Forum will be this Sunday night with Senator Malcolm Roberts. You can jump on the Zoom call and ask Malcolm a question directly. So head to commandingthenarrative.com and find that link. And also the symposium in Balgala, the significance of this is that it will be in Zali Steggall's electorate. And we want to push back and put enough pressure on these teals as much as we possibly can. So Commanding the Narrative is the place to go. Hit the sign up button in the top right-hand corner. Support us. Donate if you can. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone that's contributed in the chat. Thank you for Katie McCallum for calling in. And we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.